taken with lies. CPS tell the stories trying to ruin our lives. My kid now, she forced the kid, child ring, man, it's all bad. My kids was kidnapped, was all for the cash. My kids was kidnapped, it was my kids was kidnapped. They was taken with lies.
It started with the way I look, how I carried it. They couldn't stand a man like me, could understand what marriage is. Providing for my wife and kids the way that I inherited. Mom nothing but took care of the kids. How can they just was mine and I ain't caught a case. Never held that's for skill. My rights were stripped away. Fighting for my right to pants upon my face. See through all your blatant lies. I be up there. Hey, it's wrong what y'all out here doing. Lying, taking, breaking up a happy home. Cause y'all don't like the way we live. Long as we providing, so y'all should mind your business. I'm messing with my breaking laws. Release my kids. Tired, I can take it, this is real. And I'm a lawyer, they appointed me. Never even took my calls. They falsified my drug screens. Got a lot in that ain't all. This okay, so up. Gotta follow laws. Kidnapped
was taken with lies. CPS telling stories trying to ruin our lives. My kids was kidnapped. It was all for the kid. Child rape, man, I swear it's all bad. My kids was kidnapped. They was taken with lies. CPS telling stories trying to ruin our lives. It was all for the kids, so force the kid. Child rape, man, I swear it's all bad. My kids was kidnapped. They was CPS telling stories trying to ruin our lives. My kids was kidnapped. It was all for the cash, so force the kid. Child rape, man, I swear it's all bad. My kids was kidnapped.
Help, come on, tell me, do y'all feel my wife cry a and I can do on the verge of losing it. Swear I'm about to go insane. Praying that I have the strength to make another day. Can't begin to understand all the stuff my kids go through. The pain they feel or what they think for real, it's hard to bear. That's the way place with strangers broke me when I heard the news. Rotting in the prison cell for something I ain't even do. The fight is real and we won't stop, just coming home. Playing games but they ain't know they dealing with the king. Lawyered up, got a pitbull, yeah, now it's really on. He did take my family back and trust me, we don't stand alone. This right here's for everyone who going what we going through. Be the for all of y'all, I feel it too. This is wrong, it's time for change. Pushing hard to make news. Austin Trinity, Kiara, Bella, Hope. Cam, this one's for you. Kidnapped.
This song is for all the struggle. Our kids are being taken corrupt. It's not just happening to me, to everyone all across this nation. I've seen it firsthand. I've read your stories, your letters, emails. I've read reports. Seen it happen, my family, my friends, strangers. We are parents and we're losing our rights. Babies that are being fed to the court. Yeah, and all these agencies use our kids to keep themselves as create
walk through my door. But you know what? With what we've done. And I know that all of you know that this is what it feels like when they come and they take your child. It's a terrible thing what these CPS agents are doing. It can just come into our homes and just strip us away in a moment. Our life is wonderful, and then in just that moment they come in. I'm here tonight with my law czar, Mr. Herbert Petty over here. Let me grab Herbert, bring him in. Mr. Herbert, how are we doing tonight, buddy? Oh, there you are. Where's Herbert here?
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Herbert, there he is.
I'm here.
There's
How's
my
it
man
going?
right there. How are we doing tonight, Herbert? All right.
Okay, how's everything with you?
We're doing good. I just welcome. We're doing all right. Short of just not having our our kids to us. That's about the only problem that I'm seeing. So how about you? Off and running, doing some things.
Yeah, running around town, doing things as always. Who else we have on with us?
You got anything new today that you've come up with for us?
No, nothing
Anything new today?
Nothing new.
No, nothing
new.
We'll just hammer on it. We just want to hammer on the. I'm going to put up a video here in a second about some more very important that. I think it's important that we talk to these people when the police come to these houses and they enter these houses, and how people's handing our children over to these people. They're literally just handing our people. And we had Josie on, from Canada, where she was just the CPS just come right in the hospital and just took her kids, took her grandbaby. We this stuff, and we got to know where it's coming from. I think it's very, very important that we learn where this, because we can't defend ourselves until we know who we are defending ourselves against. Agree to agree, or how do you feel about that?
I thought it was very good, the show last night. I think it went very well. I'm looking forward to seeing her again on Monday, right?
Right. But I mean, what do you think? The fact that they can just go in the hospital, take this woman's baby, take her grandbaby.
Well, okay. Well, learning from you guys about CPS, there obviously was something observed by the medical staff that they felt necessary to call CPS. CPS didn't just come into the hospital. Somebody from the medical group called them.
Right. Like Josie said, they have I forget what she said, her call in. She was involved previously with CPS. That's where she got brought into that. But who in the hospitals, who is giving people authorization to allow these people to just come into wherever they're into them authorization? How is this? Because someone's given authorization for these workers to surprisingly come in the street, and well, here we are. Someone they know that. For Josie's instance, the security. So clearly someone at the hospital. And right. So someone's giving the CPS workers off to do what they're doing.
Right. So it's going to start with the nurse or doctor, nurse/doctor. They will report to administrator. Administrator then will make a decision and to contact the authorities.
Okay.
And in this case, the authorities will be CPS. And then CPS, once they say that they're going to come, they will probably they will let them know, and the hospital will let them know, let their security know what's going on. So a security could be on alert that there could be a confrontation. And as far as the police showing up, that's security feeling that they need backup.
Okay. So basically,
that's how it goes down.
Right. So, but what I'm saying here is this: somewhere gives the authorization in any building that they're using. What about with the police force? They're assisting CPS on these. Are they authorization? Are the police getting authorization? Or are they giving CPS authorization to these homes, like entering them, or what's going on?
No, police officers the police officers doesn't get involved that way. When a police officer responds to a CPS call. They're there basically to secure the scene to make sure that there's no confrontation.
Okay.
And for situations where you do see police officers getting involved and saying, well, you know, if you can make things nicer, if you just open the door, let us in so we can see the kid and blah, 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 the officer is really out of line because it's not really up to the officer to do that. You see?
Right. The police officer.
It's not up to the officer to do that. That's up to CPS.
Right. They're supposed to be just a neutral, ensuring that no violence breaks out, no sort of new law.
Yes.
So that being said, without a warrant, so let's say I don't know my rights. The police,
they should,
but without a warrant in their hand, I don't know my rights. The police officer comes there. Now they're not, and they can't provide you with legal. And police officers sit there and watch as this goes worker to go ahead and maneuver whatever they need to maneuver because you don't have a warrant. So
the police officer will let the police officer will let the CPS personnel do all the talking.
Okay.
Now, in a case where CPS has authorization by the court system, I guess you would call it what, a warrant to take the child.
Right.
Now the officer will help that child because there's a warrant to take the child. So if the parents interferes, the police officer, that's when the police officer will go into action.
I see. Overall,
like step aside, don't get yourself involved. You're gonna get arrested. Blah blah blah. But that's when, but only when there's a situation. Do a well check or whatever.
La, 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 la. Herbert's go. Come on back, Herbert.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
So basically, there you are. So basically, yep, I hear you. So the police officers are going to until they actually have in their hand that says in a way as such. To you, the police come to your house with CPS and mother and as the homeowner, and to be able to put the CPS so that they too will be you'll be using CPS is trying to use them as a fulcrum, for instance, because if they do not to that police officer and say, I've already asked to step aside my property at this point, now I invoke my trespassing rights and get a trespassing bill casework.
That's correct.
And the will have to obey your okay. So
that's
the police
also correct.
Have no right. So the police are not any weighted side on the take on any of. They're supposed to be there as a neutral standard.
Unless there is an order. Right. Yeah, unless there's an order by the court that they have to go in for a check or whatever, and it's signed by a judge, or they have to take the child and it's signed by a judge. That's when a police officer gets involved. But if there's no orders like that, and CPS just calls the police to, hey, I just want you to be there in case there's a problem. We're just going to be there in case there's a problem.
Right.
They have to handle their own business. Right. CPS has to do whatever they do. Right.
So, next question about that is how come if hypothetically a woman in an argument together and the police show up at the house and they're about said child, or vice versa. Now the police at that point will say, listen, we don't get involved in civil matters. So why would this be civil with if CPS is at the house and the threat and see assumptions? So why would they even be invoked if already they can't do anything? So this is just kind of tells me this role is kind of a bit protection to intimidation.
Well, I guess you could look at it as intimidation. Well, law enforcement to be there. When, in my opinion, why can't they just be there themselves and deal with what they deal with? I mean, if I respond to a call, I don't bring the fire department with me.
Right. Well, if I had CPS was coming to my,
well, I'll tell you the opposite
and I had
of
all my
that.
biker
If the
friends.
if the fire department gets a call of a smoke, fire, or whatever situation it may be, in certain neighborhoods where there could be problems, they'll call police to be there. They want the police to be there as their backup. Yeah.
Right. But what if I have my bike at my house and the police show up with CPS and they're coming to my kid? I don't have any warrants or anything, but I've got 30 guys sitting here saying, no, you're not going to take these. You don't have a warrant. You don't have any problems. You have no reason to be here. And we're pretty. Then what will turn? Because now
that's
I'm
up to the police officer in and of him. No, that's up to the police officer.
But I'm doing officer CPS. So now I've just called their bluff. I'm on my right, saying that these are here to defend my property, my things. It's done screwed up. The role is that police officer supposed to be, because by rights, nothing has gone on there. So this thing at all whatsoever, except for telling the CPS caseworker to leave. You shouldn't be engaging. You should be.
Yes, but you're going to have officers that are going to open their mouth and say, "Hey, they just want to come in the house," and the officers trying to be nice to move this thing along. When the officers should just sit back and let the CPS officer do their job.
Agreed. For these scenarios, so people understand how much they have to do and what they don't have to do, what they're not responsible for. These police, and this is the front situation in all of these CPS. Every time it begins with this.
Well, I'll give you something to tell your viewers. If there's a doorbell or ring at the door and you answer, you open the door and they say, "Hi, this is CPS. We need to talk to you." Walk outside and talk to them. Don't invite them in.
Right. Well, we can't have that, because once we opened up another can of worms, which they call jurisdiction.
No. You can walk outside. You can walk outside and say, "How can I help you?"
But if past that threshold, now you've given them the opportunity to place and be involved in what you got going on. So
yeah, when you invite them in your house, you're giving the opportunity to see things in clear view, to see situations, to see what's going on. You're doing that. I say you go outside. You can answer the door. I mean, you cannot answer the door, but they'll be back another day. So go outside, close your door. How can I help you?
Yeah. And even
and then listen to them.
Our buddy Mal, right. Well, even is close to come back with something else, come back at a better time. And what they have is a letter, a Malibu Dallas written up with the ADA. It states in that letter that they have no responsibility to talk to you. They don't want to talk to you. This is voluntary. Contact their lawyer, speak to us again. It covers a whole array of things. That's covered. It's a legal binding on it. You can't talk to me. You can't come in without this. You can't do. I'll get it for a video so we can go over that, because I'm curious to see what you think about what some of the actions are on that, and how read it, how it reads to the people themselves. But I think that goes. So if you kick them out that first time, that that first time may or may not know that they come back or they're coming. So you don't get the opportunity to post up a letter that you have. They're coming ahead of time, but you to have that letter in a nice to your door. And you see them come.
Sure, you can do that.
See the letter
you have the envelope on the door and you don't answer the door, right?
Right.
You do that,
Right.
and
Wouldn't a bed-
I would think so.
um,
There was a guy that
because
had them on Ring, and the police showed up, CPS showed up, and he was talking to them through the camera. He wasn't even at the house.
and
So they
that was
can't come in.
acceptable because most of these were real because you're not even there. But what most of these do is they're really trying to get eyes on the kid, correct? Like that's what we've seen. That's their biggest thing. In the back of their minds, they also know that if they can get beyond that breach of that door, get CPS authorization inside of that, or do you think they're just thinking for the safety of the children?
We don't know what the mindset is in different cases. Okay, number
Right.
one. Number two, what my understanding is, you're not going to take a kid unless you have a court order to take the child.
Right. But those are
So if you don't have a
further
court
and
order,
fewer
if
and
you don't
rubber
have if you don't have a court order to take the child, you can't take the child.
right.
You can say you're going to take the child, then you say, where is your order to show that you can take the child? Show me the order. And chances are they're not going to be able to. Because if they did have an order, they would walk in saying, hey, here is the order, we're taking the child. And when you put up opposition, now the police will get involved.
Okay. And then that's when we start. So the best from the gates to have the letter posted on the door. Please leave. Deal with our loan. Talk to us, because what we do, take whatever of them here, they will take that and use it against you at any given chance that they have to use it. They use a thing amount of evidence, Herb. You know what preponderance amount of evidence? Preponderance amount of evidence is amount of evidence to engage something to roll. So it's even here is even included in amount of evidence, so that they say there's a chance in there. I know it doesn't look like, but it could be. It may, and so forth. So we need you that house. So we need is a preponderance amount of evidence to go and call up and say 2 weeks and isn't too lazy and decide themselves a rubber stamp.
Okay. What I would refer, how we would refer to that as probable cause or reasonable cause to believe. We would use that, probable cause or reasonable cause to believe.
Okay.
So it's just different words, that's all, but it means the same thing.
Okay. So probable cause is what? Ponderance amount of evidence?
It's basically the same thing.
Is that the difference?
Yeah, it's basically the same thing. You have a cause to take action. You have a cause, reasonable cause. You have a probable cause, and to take action, and that holds up. I see smoke coming out of somebody's side window. I have reasonable cause to believe there's a fire in that house, or I have probable cause that there's a fire in that house, so I'm breaking in. I hear three gunshots go off.
Probable.
It's basically the same words. It means the same. In the end run, it means the same thing. Probable or reasonable cause to believe.
Like in courtroom, that's that could be the question. Very small amount hearsay and everything beyond doubt is more than enough information to think. So there's a big gap of information there. When you say cause or
reasonable doubt, like reasonable doubt, yeah, or probable cause. So they go in the house.
Yeah.
They see the little girl. She has a golf ball sized knot on her head. There's already been a report that the child has been abused. See, somebody's already said the child has been abused. That's why they're doing a wellness check. And they see this golf ball size on her forehead. Now they have probable cause or reasonable cause to intervene, and I don't know, CPS will take the child or whatever, but something will happen with CPS and that child because unknown persons call about abuse to that child. CPS shows up. CPS sees the golf size knot on a child's head. So you could put 2 and 2 together.
Probable cause. 2 and 2 together is.
That's correct. And 4 means the child. Right. 4 means the child goes. We're taking this child out of the house because now we believe the child has been abused because somebody called and said they believe the child's being abused. We walk in there and we see the child has a knot on the head that they can't explain to us. They said, oh, well, she hit her head against the wall. But according to the unknown person, this child has always been abused. So we have reasonable cause to believe that this is actual, there's abusiveness going on. And, well, that's where we would get CPS involved. But they'll do what they do.
So when the police, if you saw, let's say a little goes by, you saw a bruise side of their, let's say, for instance, if the parents weren't letting you in, could your warrant say that I saw a kid that was giving me reasonable suspicion to say that there was abuse into that home?
Yeah, I would call my supervisor first, of course, and explain to my supervisor what I see. The supervisor will probably show up on the scene and assess and address the situation. And we're going to go into the house. We're going to talk to the parents, and supervisor will talk to the parents. And then we're going in because of my observation. It was in clear view. When the door was open, the child walked by. I see the child has a knot on the head, and CPS is there because of abuse. And I saw the child with the knot on the head. Now we're probably going to enter that house, whether the homeowner wants us to or not.
Okay.
Has nothing to do with that. Has nothing to do. That right there has nothing to do with CPS. Right there, it has nothing to do with CPS. It's my observation.
That's the standard protocol, right? That's the standard.
Yeah, that's my observation, and I see an abused child.
Okay, so what would that call be for you? Would that called up, left anonymous line saying to go check the kid out? Well. Like if they said do a wellness check, it could be a phone call directed to the department to yes, or would that just
no, CPS is not involved. CPS is not involved. When they call 911 and they report something like that, such as there's a lot of yelling and screaming, and I hear a child inside, she's yelling, leave me alone, stop hitting me, or whatever. And this is what the unknown person calls in. So upon 911 receiving that, they'll dispatch an officer to check on the situation. The officer responds and says, we have a call, anonymous call, but we want to, check on it to find out if there's an issue going on or not. How many people are in the house? Oh, just me, my wife, and my daughter. Okay, could we interview you, your wife, your daughter? No, you can't come in. Well, we got this call. I'd like to see your daughter. No, my daughter's sleeping right now. You can't come and see my daughter. At that point, I would call my supervisor. He'll make a decision whether we're going to go in or whether we're going to call CPS and then go in that way.
Right. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to win this, correct? This argument.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt. We're going to win. And the thing is, I'll tell you the unfortunate part. The unfortunate part was that there are times when there was no problem. There's no yelling. There's no screaming. Everybody's just looking at television, and your neighbor next door that has issues with you decides to call the police and make that story up. Now, I can't go after the neighbor and say falsely reporting. I can't go after the neighbor and say falsely reporting an incident because he or she says they knew what they heard. And we're responding to what they heard, not what they saw.
Right. And they're supposed to when they call you.
They're anonymous. They are anonymous. We don't give up the name of the caller.
Right. You can't do anything. Your hands are really tied.
Unless the person's a witness to the incident. Now,
right.
They're going to be identified because they're a witness to a situation, a witness to the incident. But somebody just giving a tip? I mean, I'm sure you heard of 1-800-TIPS. People give tips.
Yeah.
Police follow up on those tips, and arrests are made. Criminals are caught based on tips because they know they're going to remain anonymous. And guess who called the tip in? Grandma.
Grandma, right.
Grandma called the tip in.
Mad at the daughter-in-law because they didn't go to church on, some ridiculous thing. Nothing that worthy someone in their lives, right?
Exactly.
Over there. And we're so 3.2 million phone calls to investigations had been into there had to be investigated. So it's 3.2 million last year that was investigated. Of that, it was like 525,000 had turned into stories of kids, their families again. You get that going on every year, man. You're starting to really see some things up here. Guys keep saying that you got 10 that are child when CPS affected directly by this stuff, and you start adding in other things. There's a lot of people at play here. Now you got 3 point. CPS has just knocked on. They're doing those numbers times 10 million.
Yeah. I don't think CPS knocks at every door or every complaint. I'm just talking off the head.
Right. Well, I know. I think law.
Yeah.
What was that, Herbert? What were you gonna say?
No, I'm listening to you. You said by law what?
Well, they are required to hear every one of complaints. That's the and see what.
The only reason why I made that comment is because you had a guest on one time. I forgot who it was, and stated that as much as they want to go to every call, they don't have enough staff to accomplish that goal. So they go to the most serious sounding calls.
Okay. Okay. So yes, now we've got this situation. We have them now. They come into your home because you have seen them. You have seen with a mark on them. Or now this investigation has turned from a complaint from grandma to an police investigation. But now, what are you to do while in, and what rights do a parent have now that you've transferred this from a wellness check by grandma's phone call to an actual police investigation?
Once it goes down to that level, I'll have my supervisor respond, and decisions will be made between CPS and the supervisor. Chances are that child will be taken out of that home.
Okay.
Because the child has been abused.
Go ahead. Right. So you get your preliminary sites. You see what's this no longer is a wellness check. This is an actual. You contact your supervisor and what you see. Now, yes, one of the parents maybe, but CPS is probably definitely going to be.
Well, yeah. Well, the child comes first. So making an arrest or not making an arrest is secondary, because who knows? Maybe the child fell down the staircase by accident playing.
Understood. So I get.
So there has to be an
that there's that.
investigation. There has to be an investigation with the parents, and a lot of questions will be asked. How did that child get a knot on their head?
Right. I mean, there's multiple things.
We just can't immediately jump to the fact that the parent hit the child and made that happen. We have to ask questions.
Right. But what I'm getting
now, I'm sure that
here is this.
If the child is of an age that can talk, the child's involved too. That child might say, well, I was playing and I pulled the dresser down because, the dresser wasn't attached to the wall. And the child was climbing up on the drawers and the dresser fell on the child. So the child is saying, no, I pulled the dresser on me.
Right.
The CPS between the law enforcement and CPS, the mother and the child, will come to a conclusion on what's going on. In the interim of all this, we'll definitely have medical there, EMT,
okay,
to check on the child. Okay, maybe they might even take the child to the hospital and further check on the child. So there's going to be a big to-do that's going to go down if we see a situation like that.
But I'd be surprised if it doesn't happen often than not. It reminds me to think that this does happen more often. Where this goes from a simple wellness check to a full-blown investigation into child abuse and neglect.
Yeah, from that perspective, I was just talking about the next door neighbor calling or grandma calling.
Yeah.
See, another thing too is there history? Does this parent have a history with CPS? That plays.
For our sake, let's say.
Let's just say that grandma. I want to go.
Called this wellness check.
Yeah. So we'll go with that. They don't have a history. Yeah, we'll go with that. So they don't have a history. They take the child to the hospital, get the child thoroughly checked out and everything. Chances are that child will be going home with their parents that night. I would think so, because there's no history. And the story sounds feasible about the dresser falling over. There's evidence of the dresser fell over because of the debris and stuff on the floor.
So the police go home that night?
Does the police check on the police at the house? The police was I was under the impression that we got a call to go to a house because of something abusive.
Provincial situation. So called police go to the house, check on. They get into the house. They do their investigation. And reason there's something going on, but the thing fell. Then goes to the hospital. The hospital does an investigation of their own, checks him out, makes sure his wounds aren't. You say goes back, most likely, correct?
Because there's no history with CPS with the parents. You said.
Okay.
You see, now if there was history with CPS with the parents, if there was history with CPS with that parent, that's a crapshoot. That child may not go home that night.
Right.
But if there's no history and there's this.
Right. So do the police wait to get the police department further safety of the child? Well, I guess what I'm getting at is,
I would think that CPS.
When does this initial call that we're on?
When do they end the call?
Like, when does the police officers respond for this call that initiated all of the talking about right now?
Once we hear the bottom line from CPS.
Okay.
So we're going to stay on the case until CPS tells us, oh no, it's okay. We're just going to keep in touch with this family, and that's it. We're gone. We're out of it. We do our reports. We do our reports, submit our reports, and that's it.
And then some more, and then just go out. So police are go home with the child to make sure that this child at that home. They just go home with the parents and say
We
that
were,
police are going to contact CPS.
if you recall, we were at the house.
I understand
Remember?
that, but then we put the child go. Child go.
We were
When
at the house.
child comes home, is there a police presence at the house? Comes home, or does this go to another day now?
I don't see why they would be, because the decision was made at the hospital with the doctors and the nurses and CPS, and a decision was made. I'm assuming a decision was made that no, it's everything sounds correct. Everything is in line with what the child said happened to them, and they will interview that child separate from the parent. Believe it or not, they're going to do that. They will do that. Okay. And the child sounds like, no, it's something that the child felt they did to themselves, and that was it. So there's no need for us to go back to the house with the parents.
Right. I would think that, yeah, I don't know. That's just so now.
But there would be.
We just leave this now. This girl that turned in all of this from grandma's shenanigans. CPS and the following day, CPS out, and now they begin their own on and so forth. So we see CPS getting into your home and getting a mysterious phone call.
Well, it was okay. CPS did come out upon the request of the hospital. Okay. And upon a request of the police. But the thing is, did they clear the parents at that time? If they cleared the parents and says, no, you can have your child back, I don't know. This is what you know. But I would think that CPS would check in from time to time on that child. Yeah. Just to make sure everything's still okay.
So
we're not going to check in because...
Listen, so this is very important because the contract plan. So now Mr. Joe Schmo, case work. They come, they say, meet you. We were heard part of last night that we had a phone call here that came in, and we just said we got to do this as part of our program. We're just going to come up with a couple of things to overlook and say, look, let's make sure Johnny's, some distance away from dad for a little while. Make sure that there's no more different. We're going to need you to sign this plan, right? That you agree to it. And if nothing happens off in 20 to 30 days, we're going to close this thing without anything, and you'll be gone with your life. So you're going to say, okay, you're going to go ahead and say that because you're not going to anything happening, right? You're thinking that this is a fluke. He had the fence fall on him. Nothing's going to go down. So you sign this safety plan thinking that you dealing with a government official, it's the best interest they have in mind, and your signature goes right there. You go, and in a week, get pulled over for a speeding ticket. CPS comes, it's your kid because you broke the law and you said that you in that safety plan and you've given up your rights to your child. So broken if you've broken any of these laws or inside of here. Have your kids been taken away by CPS? You didn't have a freaking, and all it was for a ticket. They get you every time because everybody just assumes nothing's wrong. Anything wrong? That story, like that, because nothing happened. Pass. Yes.
Okay, now you said you were going to bring up a video to go through.
Yeah, I'll bring up a video. But you see how quick? Minutes. Let's take 5 minutes. And I bet that we returned home, the way they're talking, the way that we're going on this and everything, I would have given you that safety plan and you would have said, without even hesitation, where they're getting all of us.
You have any videos to show where parents didn't allow CPS in?
Yeah, I got a couple of things here.
Or do you have videos where shows the police are in the house and CPS is involved?
I mean, it's pretty scary to know that scenario that we spoke of, that we talked about, that we just did that fast, that not by and knowing your rights, knowing that you could just give away your child and you didn't even realize it. People, and once they have you, not even about what's happened, what's been done, or whatever. Now you're for whatever they do through, and it's all.
I just
want
to mention one thing.
Innocent.
I just want to mention one thing, that the child may not necessarily be taken to the hospital, but they would have an emergency crew come out to do an examination of the child in the home. So I want to correct that. I want to say it's not always that they take the child to the hospital, but when they have EMS come out, the ambulance and everything, they will sit down with the child and do a examination of the child in the home. Supervisor will be there. On my part, chances are CPS will be called to come also, if they felt necessary.
All right, here's this one here. This is how they screen the news story out of. I can see it here. They talk about this. Goes over this process of what allegations they actually, what they don't. So let's pull this one up here. It's a really good presentation. Wisconsin, that's where this one is. Okay. Let's put this over here. Okay, let's start this here. Okay, let's get this. All right, there we go. And let's go ahead, lady, what they to say in Wisconsin.
Child dies in grief. That was the case when a toddler in Madison's East died just a couple of weeks ago, and that's why the anger when they claimed that Child Protective Services had been involved with this home. Now we do not know about this case, and much we may never know because of child privacy laws. For now, we're getting how calls to CPS get handled across Wisconsin. Investigative reporter reports.
Of more than 60 calls to CPS in Wisconsin in 2020, third worst for investigations statewide, a county. That means only a third of the reports, if found to be true, would meet the legal definition for child abuse or neglect.
We see things like families that need social service support, family that needs access to diapers or food or other things that are poverty related that are not.
Disturbed lawmakers in a recent hearing. A small handful of the 27 child deaths from abuse or neglect in 2020 past screened out or unsubstantiated reports.
Lives before this child was killed, a referral that was screened, that was 5 years before this baby's death. Obviously, screened out referral should have never happened.
A national report from the Services Department puts Wisconsin third from last in the country for screening rates. Once an investigation starts to figure out and report of maltreatment is likely true, about 13% state. While 20 happened after a call had been screened in or unsubstantiated, lawmakers view it's too many.
Me when I just such a small percentage compared to the sheer volume of kids that we're dealing with at the day that's still alive.
We really have to err, in my opinion, like LaTanya says, err on the side of the safe child.
These are complicated individual scenarios, and we don't all, it's not possible to sort of foresee what's going to happen in any individual case. Fortunately, we have very types of incidents. It's a very, very rare scenario, and each one in itself is a tragedy.
Representative Snyder chaired the Assembly Families Committee for 4 years. Democrat LaTanya Johnson has also sat for years on the counterpart committee in the Senate. Her concern is party lines.
Whatever the protocol for these out, I feel we need to take a deeper dive and to see what that is.
In the same sense, what a difficult job it is to be a social worker and day out trying to make that difference for that child that you're trying to represent and the situation. So I'm not trying to...
CPS head says a knee-jerk reaction to one case, like leaning heavily in homes, can the policy to everyone.
Taking a child out of a home is an extreme in and of itself, and I think we're learning more and more about how families impact children.
That was Naomi Cole.
So there we go. Here's the thing. Now let's go back about with what we were doing with this. Now, because screens and whatever went on, they now come down harder on you. The person that just signed a safety plan thinking nothing was going to happen. Now they put new legislation in place. They've taken your kid away from you for a speeding ticket, and now as your kid had an injury, now they're putting down harder and harder and harder weight at your child. So rules now that apply to people that are actually abusing their children to you, that the fence fell on your child up. Now you've got to go to classes. You've got to go to anger management. Now you've got to go to awareness, because now it's just protocol to protect children. You need. All you did was bring your speeding ticket. Situation already. So now, because of this, they're attacking parents like you in a fake world, go through the gauntlet because of their flaws. They, out of the calls that they make, out of 60,000 calls that they got, 13 of those were substantiated. 13%. What's 60,000 divided by 13%? So what's 13%? 14%. So 860 was found somewhere under and some evidence. some type of risk or abuse involved. 13%. You now have to be one of those 13% for a child, and then you're getting a speeding ticket because you signed a safety plan. But yeah, used being out there unprotected, unhurt, unhelped, and they're not going to be. They're going to end up being a stick because they paid attention to the one that thing wrong and did everything right. I bet you out of that 13, I bet you. If you guys are just joining us back tonight, take a look at this episode. It'll really make. Herbert, you got any last words for Laura now?
No, except for I want people to know that when police show up with CPS, basically they're there in the event that there could be a confrontation between the CPS personnel and yourself, the parent. But you will find that the officer will say little to nothing. If he does say something, you can just say to him, sir, I thought this was between me and CPS. Did I break a law? Because I'm only there in case of a law is being broken.
Mm-hmm. I'm
there in the event of any kind of confrontation. I do understand it feels like I'm intimidating you, but I'm wearing a uniform. So maybe that's what CPS wanted, to make you feel intimidated. I don't know. I mean, I feel they should be able to go to the house by themselves and deal with the situation.
Right.
But the fact that they want us to come along is because they feel there could be a confrontation. So we're going to adhere to their request and come along. But you don't have to let us in. Unless we have, when I say we, me and the CPS personnel, unless we have a court order to come in to take your child, you don't have to let us in the house. You can open the door and step outside and talk to us. We're not going to demand that you must let us in the house unless we have some kind of court order that says we can come into the house. And little talk is better. The little you talk, it's better, because everything you say is going to be written down by CPS and held against you.
What do you say for a little?
Fele ma bouche.
Yeah.
That means shut up.
Close the mouth. Yeah,
yes.
Right about
Close
that.
the mouth. Fele ma bouche.
Yeah, be very, 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 very. Don't even use them, because these fire your head will spin and you won't even understand what happened.
Right.
So, all right, Herbert. Well, thank you. I'll talk to you in a few minutes for our post-game show with me. At the last moment, but good show for good education. I'll tell you in a couple of minutes, Herbert.
Okay, thank you.
All right, everybody. It's not the way that this show is supposed to be tonight. If you saw the way that I was twisted conversation with Herbert, in the way in those just moments, that's all it took to get a perfectly good home and right situation completely and bad because of trust, because of honesty, because of all of these. You need to pay attention when people, they're not your friends. They're not there to help or assist you. We've already heard only 13 are substantial, probably aren't even close to what. The only thing that needs to be done right now, CPS needs to be abolished. And we start something out that the American people and our children. I'm CPS Punisher.